Mongol domination, the forgotten 250-year nightmare. A city burns. The streets are empty, but you can still hear the screams. The Mongols have arrived, and nothing will ever be the same. From 1237 to 1480, they ruled Russia and Eastern Europe, changing history forever. But what if I told you that despite their terror, their rule helped build a Russian empire? How did destruction lead to something even greater? Let's uncover the truth behind the Mongol invasion. The Mongol invasion of Russia and Eastern Europe was one of the most brutal wars in history. It was not just a single battle. It was a long, terrifying process that lasted for centuries. The Mongols didn't just conquer, they ruled and controlled entire nations. To understand how Russia fell, we must go back to the early 1200 STO, the rise of an unstoppable force. The Mongols were not just warriors. They were a living storm, striking fast and leaving nothing behind. They moved like ghosts on horseback, outpacing and outthinking every enemy. Their leader, Genghis Khan, had already carved out the largest empire in history, stretching from China to the Middle East. And even after his death, his sons and grandsons carried his vision forward one conquest at a time. First came the silence, then the ground shook, then the sky filled with smoke. In 1237, Batu Khan rode into Russia, leading an army that didn't just conquer, it consumed. No walls could stop them. No army could break them. One by one, the great cities of Russia vanished. And when the dust finally settled, the world had changed forever. Over the next 2.5 centuries, Russia and Eastern Europe were under Mongol rule. The Mongols collected taxes, controlled trade, and forced local rulers to obey them. But in time, the Russians learned their tactics and began fighting back. But how did this nightmare begin? How did the Mongols hold power for so long? And what finally led to their defeat? Let's uncover the truth, step by step.
The Mongol attack, 1237 to 1242.
In the winter of 1237, Batu Khan and his Mongol army, known as the Golden Horde, invaded Russia. Their first target was the city of Ryazan. The people fought bravely, but the Mongols were too powerful. They burned the city to the ground and killed almost everyone. One by one, the Mongols destroyed other Russian cities. Vladimir, the capital of Russia at the time, was completely burned. Moscow, a small but growing city, was attacked and ruined. Kiev, once the grand heart of Eastern Europe, was reduced to rubble. By 1242, the Mongols had conquered most of Russia, Ukraine, and even parts of Hungary and Poland. The rulers of these lands had no choice but to surrender or face destruction.
Life under Mongol rule. The Golden Horde, 1242 to 1480.
After their conquest, the Mongols set up their rule, creating a system where Russian rulers had to pay heavy taxes to them. Anyone who refused was destroyed. The Mongols controlled trade, making money by dominating important trade routes. They allowed local rulers to stay in power, but only if they followed Mongol orders. Violence was their main tool for control. Any rebellion was crushed without mercy. However, there was one positive outcome. Under Mongol rule, trade and communication improved. The Mongols connected Russia to the rest of the world, from China to the Middle East, bringing new goods and ideas.
The rise of Moscow, 1300s to 1400s.
Over time, one city began to rise in power, Moscow. while other cities suffered. Moscow's leaders worked with the Mongols, collecting taxes for them and gaining more influence. This strategy helped Moscow grow stronger while other cities struggled. By the 1400s, Moscow had become the most powerful Russian city. A new ruler, Ivan III, also known as Ivan the Great, emerged, ready to challenge Mongol rule.
The final battle, the Great Stand on the Ugar River, 1480.
In 1480, Ivan III refused to pay taxes to the Mongols. The Mongols sent an army to punish him, but at the Ugar River, something unexpected happened. The two armies stood face to face, but instead of fighting, the Mongols retreated. They realized they were no longer strong enough to control Russia. After 250 years of Mongol rule, Russia was finally free. This marked the end of the Mongol nightmare and the beginning of a new era for Russia. What do you think was the most shocking part of this invasion? Was it the Mongols' power, the destruction of great cities, or the way Russia finally broke free? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this incredible part of history, the Mongol aftermath. The Mongol invasion of Russia and Eastern Europe was one of the most brutal events in history. For 250 years, the Mongols controlled the land, collected taxes, and ruled through fear. But at the same time, they helped Russia connect to the world, bringing new trade and ideas. Moscow grew strong under their rule, and later became the center of Russian power. In the end, the Russians learned from their enemies. They used Mongol military tactics to build their own empire, which later became the powerful Russian Empire. This invasion wasn't just a war. It was a turning point that shaped Russia, Europe, and even the world. That's the story of the Mongol invasion, 1237 to 1480, one of the most dramatic and game-changing events in history.